got one of the most requested people for this day of talks. Where you at, Aravind? There he is, the CEO of Perplexity AI. So many people were so excited that you were giving a talk today, man. And I am one of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy to be here and excited to tell you all about Perplexity.
Cool, man. Well, I am going to hand it over to you. No stress on the screen share. We can see it's working now, and you should be good
Yeah.
to go. So I'll be back in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
All right. Can I get started?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Great to meet you all in this conference. And I'm Aravind. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Perplexity. Perplexity is a conversational search engine that basically is the fastest way to get answers to any question and fastest way to like do all of your web browsing on the internet. And we are four people, co-founders, myself, Dennis Yarat, he's formerly from Meta, Quora, and Bing, NYU. Johnny Ho, like our he was actually world number one at programming at one point, and Andy from he's one of the Databricks co-founders and also from UC Berkeley. Um, so our mission is to be the world's most knowledge-centric company. Um, I think this is sort of borrowed from Amazon. When Jeff Bezos says Amazon's the Earth's most customer-centric company, and like that's sort of what made them what it is right now, customer obsession. And our mission is to be obsessed about knowledge and productivity, and we want to be the best conversational answer engine and provide the best search co-pilots for you, and the place where people want to be when they want to discover and share knowledge. And I think if we deliver on this, we're going to give people back a lot of their time and make everyone smarter every day. And I think that's good for the world. And do it in a transparent way where truth is a first party characteristic of all the answers in the form of citations. So we are backed by great investors: Nat, Jeff Dean, Bob, Muglia, Elad, Andrea, Jan, and so many more. Amjad, Susan. So like if for those of you who don't know about our product, like you can ask any question, like literally the deepest questions. um if you didn't understand relativity, you could ask about the theory of relativity and like ask it about the differences, special theory and the general theory, and how they've shaped your understanding, like and powered with GPT 3.5, GPT 4. This You can ask about the concept of supply and demand and economics. Basically, anything that you don't know about, but you're curious about, and you wish you had access to an amazing, knowledgeable friend, always available to you, right? So usually, the smartest people we have are people who are, uh, like pretty busy and they're not really available to you. Like this happens when in college, right? When we are in college, the best programmer is the one you kind of go to for quickly a coding assignment. Then the problem with always going to them is like they're not always available. They're probably going to try to like do something of their own. And imagine you had the power of having access to the best programmer, the most knowledgeable person about economics, the most knowledgeable person about physics, uh, all of them in like one service, one search bar, and always ready to answer any question that you may have, and like dig deeper, and like go breadth first search, depth first search about anything. That's Perplexity for you. And you know, I'm sure all of you would love to have such a friend, always at your demand in your mobile phone anytime, right? So that's basically what we made it happen now. And all of you are pretty familiar with like the auto GPT and search agents. Like there's a lot of hype around it, but everyone's been asking for like a product that takes those ideas and like productizes it in a way that can be used reliably. And that's sort of what we've done with our search copilot. Put human agency at the premium of the product. Let humans control the search experience. Even though AI is at humans' mercy, they kind of like it's in
Introducing
service of the AI.
Copilot, your
So
interactive
we are
AI
very proud
search
of this. The
companion
third
by
copilot.
Perplexity. This is a new, more powerful, and interactive way to search. With Copilot, your question sets off an intelligent search process.
So you
It
notice
starts
how
by
AI
understanding
comes
your
and asks
query,
you
then
your
asks you clarifying questions to
clarifying
refine the
questions.
results. After you respond, it combs the web, critically analyzes the information it finds, and then presents you with a concise, well-summarized answer.
This is a lot better than going to Google
Are
and
you
asking
planning a trip?
questions where
Let
the
Copilot be your
person bidding the
personal travel
most is
guide.
just
It
going to get
quickly
displayed
finds the
first.
best flights, hotels, and must-see spots tailored just for you.
And the whole trip planning thing is like
Need
super
help starting a
effective.
healthy
I've been
diet?
using it. Recently I planned a
Copilot
trip with
curates
it, and
customized meal
I know
plans
many
and
other friends
recipes
have done that.
perfectly suited to your tastes and dietary needs. Or maybe you want to learn how to ski this winter. Let Copilot take care of the research for you. It delivers easy to understand steps and the highest rated instructional videos right at your fingertips. Copilot curates the best learning resources so you can focus on learning at your own pace. You can share what you've discovered with others. Not only can they view the questions you've asked, but they can also engage by liking them or even asking follow-up questions. With Copilot, your discoveries transform into shareable knowledge. Perplexity. Ask anything.
So, part of the motivation to let people fork someone else's thread and ask follow-ups on top of that is sort of like we're all sort of prompt engineering right now. Like the whole, and you can consider this as the new kind of programming. You're programming in natural language, and so like it sort of made programming a lot more fun and simple. That you can take someone else's prompt thread and like you can learn from it, and then you can ask follow-ups and learn more about it, and you can share it with other people. And so it's almost like building a GitHub of English. We're expanding the knowledge capital of the planet by doing that, and making it publicly available and sharing it a lot, right? And so that's the idea. Copilot is not fully autonomous, as you can see. The LLMs will come back to you with clarifying questions. And then the search queries initially that you ask are potentially highly ambiguous and have high perplexity. And then you can clarify and reduce the ambiguity and help improve the answers. So, in some sense, you're guiding the LLMs to the right parts of the web. And as I said, you're putting human agency at the premium of the product. It's sort of like a fundamental principle of our products in general. And then we took a step further there and built a copilot that's personalized to you. And we built something called the AI profile, which we're pretty excited about. And
Introducing AI Profile on Perplexity, a new way to make your search experience truly yours. Start by telling us a bit about yourself, your interests, your hobbies, you name it. Next, let's set your location and language preferences. As you build your profile, Perplexity will present you with dynamic, clarifying questions. These personalized prompts are designed to understand you better, creating a useful conversation between you and AI. Just like that, you've created a profile that's uniquely you, and your search experience is now tailored to match. All of this information is private and will only be used to make your interactions with the AI more useful and enjoyable. You're in control of your information and can edit or delete it at any time. Perplexity AI Profiles, the power of AI personalized for you. Start shaping your Perplexity experience today. Perplexity, ask anything.
So here, you're kind of prompt engineering for personalization. This is very different from the way personalization has been done in the Web 2.0 era, where we used to pick topics that are of interest to us, and we used to pick like domains that we want to see search results from, and so on. And that's just like a very primitive way to profile any person, right? So prompt engineering has is sort of the future of how you want to personalize yourself for the AI. In some sense, it's like for the AI to come and like sort of learn more about you, just like how and reduce the burden of future prompt engineering on your end. Like you don't have to keep repeating like what you want. We all don't want to keep on typing like code monkeys, right? When we use these chatbots. So So you kind of tell the AI what parts of the web you're interested in, like more about you, and then like you sort of like guide the LLM again to the right parts of the web by doing that. And again, like you put human agency at the premium of the product. And so Amjad, the founder of Replit, calls this personalization by prompting, and then like people on our Discord are like talking about this, how like they're trying to get something to work. Um, and then like a lot of the times what happens is Perplexity is like if you don't give it enough instructions, you get some undesirable behavior. Like for example, you ask a question in Dutch and you get the output in English, and you don't want that. So you don't want to append that as a suffix for every search query that you might have. So if you just sort of give that as a global instruction, and that's just going to work for any question, right? So it's just preloaded as a prompt. And I think this is going to make our whole experience with all these AIs a lot better. Just like I said, right? We're all becoming programmers right now, like um, because we can all code in English. Um, how Python made a lot more developers on the planet. Now we're all coding in English, and so it's a little bit like sharing a template, right? You're like building these macros and then controlling these AIs to work for you. Um, so that's kind of how you should feel about these. Like, these are co-pilots that are in your service, and you're like writing code for them, and like in natural language, and you can share and fork from other people, and expand your own productivity and knowledge that way, and also help other people expand it. So it's good for the world to do that. And we're also like doing things like tool use or Wolfram Alpha, where like we combine the LLMs with scientific calculators like Wolfram. That helps a lot of people learn math in a much faster way. Um, like when I was, in school, it took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around like local minima and global minima and things like that. And I wish I had like a tool like this where I could just come and ask things. And it's much better than like going to Wolfram calculator and using all the widgets that they have. Because natural language is a lot simpler. You can ask a lot of follow-up questions that are referential to what you've already asked before, and with like this rich rendering with integrals, LaTeX, blocks, it just makes the whole experience of like learning calculus or anything that's like advanced math or understanding planetary positions a lot more fun. And this is just the beginning, right? Like there's so many more tools to integrate with LLMs. And so that brings us to like, why do you want to use tools? And like Oreo Vinyals, the VP of research at DeepMind, he gets this pretty correctly. When we released like a Twitter search tool called BirdSQL, like back in December, uh, the end game is not to predict the next word at a time. The real end game is to connect LLMs with a lot of other tools like search engines, Python interpreters, and like leverage the tools' power and robustness, and like basically harness the reasoning power of LLMs too, and build something that was just impossible to build with just pure LLMs. And I mean, no need to say more. Like Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO, comes and tweets an improvement of a Bard where um, they have like an implicit code interpreter on the back end, and that helps them get 30% of the queries on word and math problems better. And so this is why you got to use tools like LLMs are great reasoning engines. Wolfram and databases and search indexes are sort of like knowledge engines or knowledge bases, knowledge graphs. And magic happens when you combine the two together. And in some sense, like leave aside even Wolfram, the basic Perplexity product itself is probably the most functional and well executed version of like retrieval augmented generation, or people refer to it as RAG, where you combine the LLM with the search index, and then make sure that it can always be up to date with the live information. There's no knowledge cutoff, but it also retains the conversational and reasoning and referential natural language capabilities of the LLM, the knowledge that's already in the parameters of the LLM, but can plug into all these like indexes and databases and tools and so on, and like create magical experiences for learning and knowledge and research for you. And this is just the beginning. There's just a lot more to do, API use, and like so on. So I'm pretty excited about like tool use. And so that brings into like, when you're using a bunch of tools, you're almost like you're playing an orchestra now, right? So that's kind of, I'm going to call it like orchestration, where we are orchestrating an LLM to use many tools together in order to achieve like amazing things that would just have been impossible to achieve without the tools and just the LLM alone. And so what are the challenges in orchestration? Like your latency is like pretty high if you're going to use many tools together, and the LLMs also, and like your prompts are going to get a lot bigger and so on. So in the beginning, when we first rolled out our product, our product had like 5 to 6 second latency per query. And in fact, like one of our investor friends, Daniel Gross, he used to test the product in the beginning, and he even joked saying like, you guys should not call it submit a query, but you should call it submit a job. Like it's that slow. Like it used to take 6 to 7 seconds, and now it's like incredibly fast. Like the first thing anybody comes and tells me about Perplexity is like, how do you guys make it so fast? And I think that's the part of like doing end-to-end engineering. When you're controlling all parts of the stack yourself, you can make it really, really fast. So as a company, we do not use these high level tool libraries like oh, LangChain or Dust. We don't make use of all these things. We just do the whole engineering ourselves. And I kind of recommend that for anybody else. Like there's just so many latency optimizations you'll miss out on if you rely on these tooling libraries. And then hallucination. So when you're using many tools, there are so many ways in which it can fail when you're chaining things together. Um, there's all this joke of how like when you're chaining many pieces together, um, the just one part has to go wrong and everything breaks. So we can only fix this by learning from human feedback, a lot of prompt engineering updates, good discipline on prompt version controlling, benchmarking for AI quality, benchmarking for model quality, and things like that. Uh, and like prompt migrations when you're trying to migrate from one model to another. There's all sorts of engineering challenges there. And integrations, like so when you're doing orchestration, you're like trying to like integrate with existing tools like search indexes, Wolfram, rendering libraries, trying to like make sure that the image rendering works well, um, database plugins and so on, right? So all that's like a lot of challenge, and I think um, eh, that's sort of why like building a product like this is not just an LLM wrapper. Many people think of us as an LLM wrapper, and that's fair use term because like we rely a lot on OpenAI's models. But training your own model is just one part of the whole thing. Like building a product like ours has so many layers of software engineering and LLM orchestration work to be done there that um, we 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 shouldn't be called an LLM wrapper company. So, for example, here you look at the screenshot. There's this question about the Reddit CEO pushing against the blackout of Reddit. And at the bottom, you look at the related questions, which is actually one of the most favorite features of like our users is they don't even have to type in the follow-ups. They can just click on it and it automatically contextualizes it in the context of the previous query and gives you a good follow-up answer. And how do we generate these follow-up questions? So that's another LLM that's doing the job. And then that's another LLM that we would train ourselves. And similarly, like every query needs to be classified whether what type of query it is. So that's another LLM. And then every query needs to be reformulated into a bunch of other subqueries here. Like for example, in this query, I'm asking, please explain to me the paper, Augmenting Language Models with Long-Term Memory. This is a question that, if someone that doesn't know much about uh, LLMs and they're trying to read about papers, they would ask these questions, right? And then that gets reformulated into like 3 or 4 follow-up queries. And then a search runs for all these follow-up queries and pulls up all these results. And then the Copilot looks at like 16 results, which would not have been possible with just like one single query, right? So that expands the diversity of pages that the Copilot sees, and creates a very high recall content for the LLM. And now that pulls up the highest order bits in the summary. And all these like are things of like query reformulation, query categorization, follow-up query suggestions, and like needs like separate LLMs. And then you need to orchestrate the whole thing into like one single piece that's sort of managing all of these workers, right? So that's like a separate layer of software engineering to be done there, or like AI engineering, you may call it that way. And this kind of sort of reminds me of this, Steve Jobs movie. I don't know if many of you've seen this from 2015. I think there are like many Steve Jobs movies, but this is like a pretty good one, where there's a scene here where Wozniak comes and asks, like, I'm the guy who can write all the code, and like I write all the nuts and bolts. Like, you don't do it. Like, what do you do? And then Steve comes and says, I play the orchestra, right? And then so that's really what's going on here. Like, we don't train our models, at least not all. The major heavy lifting is still done with OpenAI. But like, then what do we do? And the answer is we play the orchestra. So we orchestrate the whole thing together into one functional working piece that just works seamlessly, reliably at scale for like tens of hundreds of thousands of users every minute. And that's really hard. And sort of like, that's the major takeaway I feel like you should take away from the stock is like, LLM ops is not just about training the model, but also like building the whole orchestration suite around it. And doing this really well, like, has sort of got a sort of organic traction. Like Jack Dorsey and Nat Friedman all tweeted great things about us, and New York Times, Fortune has covered us in this like Code Red articles, and like Fast Company, Fortune, and so on, Bloomberg. You can obviously, even if you don't want to stop using Google, you can just use this as a Chrome extension, pin it to your Chrome, and then just click on it and ask any question that you otherwise would have asked Google, and kind of like pissed off with their ads. Um, you can stop using Wikipedia. Like, Wikipedia is like one uh, frozen fixed version for all of the internet. We don't need that. Like, knowledge should be personalized, and like consumption should be personalized at whatever levels of granularity you want to go dig deep into any topic. So Perplexity is sort of like a rabbit hole for people who used to earlier enjoy like Wikipedia rabbit holes. Perplexity is a black hole in that case, said by a LinkedIn user, and then it's sort of like what motivates us. Like, a lot of the people in our company are kind of nerds, and like, we want to build a nerds paradise for like those who want to come and enjoy and learning more. Um, it's a different ethos for the company compared to like the traditional social media platforms that have always tried to optimize for the average person enjoying like entertainment on the internet. For us, like, knowledge is entertainment, and then like Quora used to try to do that. The difference between Quora and Perplexity is you don't have to wait for Jimmy Wales or like some knowledgeable person to come and answer your question after like 2-3 days. You get the answer in a few seconds, equal quality, and any number of questions. And like, that's the power of like, basically you're experiencing the power of the smartest humans on the planet on steroids. And like, that's pretty amazing, for your own like, knowledge upgrades and productivity. And we're also available on iOS. Like, you can go to the App Store and use it on your phone. For people who feel a lot of friction when they're on their phones, going to Chrome and opening a separate tab. So that's another useful tool we have built, and we intend to keep building better mobile experiences. And we all this is only possible because we have a great engineering team, um, and I'm super thankful to be working with them. Um, it's one thing that everybody asks me is how do we execute so much with just so few people, and it's because these people are so awesome, and it's also we want to be a proof to the world that you can do a lot with less. In fact, you can probably only do a lot with less. That's my belief. Like, if we scaled up today to like 50 people, we'll be a lot slower. And so I'm very proud of working with all of them, and um, they're all very highly responsible for all the success we've had. And we're hiring for many positions, including a research engineer. So like, please, apply on this link or reach out to me directly or any of us directly. And we recently announced our Pro subscription plan that gives you like a lot of Copilot users per day and GPT-4 users per day. And we're actively shipping new features, so you're going to get all of them for free if you get in now. And I highly recommend you check it out. And that's it from me. I'm here to take any questions.
Awesome, man. There are some incredible questions coming through the chat, and I will say that I love the energy that these people are saying in the chat. First one that gave me a little chuckle is from Delone, and Delone reached out to me for this funny one. I don't think it was serious, but I might as well ask it to you. Can I ask Perplexity how Perplexity speeds up tool calls?
So Perplexity only takes the information from the internet, right? Like we haven't made that public yet, so um, I guess you can't. But I mean, you can definitely ask, but you might not get a great answer to it.
Okay. So I mean, along that theme, there are being able to ask anything to a chatbot or to Perplexity, it just has a lot of complications, I would imagine, with hallucinations and not knowing the catastrophic forgetting that they say and all that stuff that happens behind the scenes that we've been talking about for the past 2 days. How do you all deal with that to make sure that what you output is quality?
So the question is, how do we ensure quality in the answers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we run a lot of evals, and we have this amazing 14-year-old intern who came and set up like AI evals for us. And so anytime we change the prompts or anytime we change the search index, um, we run it through all these rigorous evals and then benchmark it. And we are big dog footers of our own product, like that's necessary when you're building a search product. Like I don't use Google anymore. Um, even if something is not working well with our thing, I kind of go through and try to like flag it and dig deeper into why it's not working. So that helps a lot. And you might be surprised, like many anecdotal um, complaints from people teaches a lot about like how to fix some things, and then that ends up fixing a lot of things. So I would just say, like, I mean, it's kind of like a joke, but um, just test it on production and then see how it goes.
That's what that's what we're going with. That should be a shirt. Test it in production and you'll be good. So that's awesome. I love that. Willem is asking a question. Any recommendations? And I love how you were talking about you're the orchestrator and you make the symphony, make that beautiful music. So along those lines, Willem's asking any recommendation on how to choose the correct foundational model based on the question slash
Yeah,
step in the orchestration
yeah.
process.
So right now, I feel like I mean all this should be desired based on evals. Um, and right now the evals indicate 3.5 turbo or 4 are like just insanely good.
Mhm.
I think anything to do with reasoning and logic, you would go with 4. I think for most summarization tasks or regular language preprocessing tasks, you go with 3.5. Claude Instant is also pretty good compared to 3.5, but not on coding.
Uh-huh.
And so that's sort of my mental roadmap right now. And I don't think the other models on the market are there in the leagues of GPT and Claude. So I
Interesting.
would kind of stick to these two for now.
And so you're not doing anything with smaller,
We do
uh,
use like small models like MPT fine tuning, and
yeah.
there are some other models in the market. And like Falcon is out, and we are testing it. But I think it's going to take a while to match the capability and the speed of these proprietary models.
Uh-huh.
And so I would kind of stick to it for now before like trying to be adventurous here.
Yeah, 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 makes total sense. So, uh, I think we kind of answered that one as far as like this so Nathaniel's asking, hey, this seems like a cooler, or not asking, but just saying more. Seems like a similar but cooler idea to the new Microsoft Windows Copilot they're looking to release in addition to Bing. And uh, oh, so do you have anything that you can tell us on the technology stack that Perplexity's building? I mean, you said OpenAI, you said Claude. What about other stuff? What other stuff are you using?
I mean, we don't use anything else like um I guess we use Kubernetes and all, all that, React, Next.js,
Hmm.
um, and iOS is in Swift UI and Android is in native. So I think that's kind of like, I don't know if that's really informative, but it's all like a lot of work on the back end that keeps the product working as well as it does now. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what the question was specifically aimed at, but
I would imagine it's probably around the machine learning engineering life cycle, like
yeah.
if you're doing anything with if you're using any kind of guardrails or if you're using any vector database to
Yeah,
augment
yeah.
it.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, we do use vector databases, and so we use Elastic. I mean, that's not a vector DB, but we use Elastic and also um, Quadrant. And we haven't ventured into Pinecone or VV8 yet, but so we've stuck with Quadrant and um, embeddings. I think we don't use OpenAI. We train our own embeddings.
Uh-huh.
And that's turned out to be pretty good for us. I don't think they have the market lead on embeddings as they have for LLMs. I think that's basically it.
So here's an interesting one, which is actually it gets a little bit ethical in a way. Shiv is asking, do you think that a villager in India can use Perplexity for their medical needs, and then they don't have to access doctors?
So the way I think about it is like I mean, I don't think it matters whether it's India or America or something.
Uh-huh.
Like I use it for medical queries for my own body. Like I recently I was on a trip and I was trying to do a hike in a cave and then I hit myself on the wall of the cave and started bleeding a little bit and then I was freaking out and I needed to know very urgently before going to the medical center that was nearby. It was like 30 to 45-minute drive from there. I had to know something, right? I was freaking out. And so I asked Perplexity and like it gave me all the detailed explanation of what it means for my symptoms. And so I would say that immediate first few minutes of like pandemonium you have, like we can really help. But you would ideally consult a practitioner and make sure it's perfect. Just don't go with blind faith of like what Perplexity is saying and like don't, like just act on it. But those few moments of panic, you can definitely like rely on us. Um, it might be the negative way too. Like it might raise alarm bells in case you might really need to take action and like go and take action, right?
Yes.
And like so, I'm happy with the way I'm using it, and I think the same I would apply to the villager in India too. And we support other languages that they can ask in their native language. So I hope they use it. I think it'll be great.
So the anyone who has Googled what their symptoms mean know that is the fastest way to get very depressed, very, very bad. I definitely have had that happen to me before. I have a stomach ache, and next thing you know, it must be an ulcer or it must be stomach cancer or whatever. And so hopefully Perplexity doesn't go down that rabbit hole.
It
Um,
doesn't because you can be more precise. You can just say, "Hey, this is what it is," and like, what can I do? Like, pretty actionably.
uh,
And so, yeah.
yeah, it's a better
But
option
also,
there.
like, it depends on how how obsessed people are about their health and so on. Like, for example, some people are like, they get a rash on their skin and they're like so scared it's like something to do with skin cancer. Like some people are like, yeah, whatever, it's just gonna be fine in a few days.
Yeah.
I'm more of the second kind, but depends
Nice.
on people.
So, Gokul is asking about latency,
Yeah.
and you're saying, curious if Perplexity has taken a toll on computational costs, since I believe a lot is happening in parallel and results might just be thrown away based on some other signal.
Yeah, we do a lot of things in parallel, and so the question is like, sorry, I don't quite get the question.
But, is Perplexity taking a toll on computational cost?
I think it's kind of fine. Like the major computational cost is actually the LLM more than the search index. And
Uh-huh.
once you've built a good vector DB, things are actually pretty fast, and you can do a lot of things in parallel. And the embedding dimensions of the vector DBs are not that big that you could keep all that on CPU. It's also fine.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, dude, this has been incredible. I am super thankful that you were able to come on here and
Oh
chat
yeah,
with
thank you.
us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and show us about Perplexity. I'm gonna start using it. I want to start playing around with it more.
Yeah.
And I also know there's a ton of people that are asking questions in the chat. So if you get a minute, I'll drop the link to the chat, and
Yeah.
maybe you can answer the other questions that are
Okay.
coming through there.
Sounds good.
And thank you so much, Arvind.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later, man.